Hey guys, I'm Props, and today I'm going to show you how I made Bo-Katan's helmet from the Mandalorian Season 2. So the first thing I did was went through and cut out my templates for this. These are actually William Shakespeare's templates, and these are taken directly from a World War I German soldier helmet. The main reason for this being because most helmets in Star Wars are actually based around the design of the World War I German soldier helmet. I just wanted to be as accurate with the dome of this as possible. I'll link his templates in the description. They're on his Facebook page. I then went through and glued on 2 pieces of foam to make up the whole back section and the front visor area of the helmet, just using some packaging tape to hold the foam on it while I glued the inside seam. I then went through and cut out the visor using a basic template that I made, and then cutting out the cheekbones using my razor blade and then my scissors, also using a template that I had traced onto the face mask. I then went through and, after a lot of guesswork, glued in and cut out the pieces for the cheekbones. I also cut out a small template for the ear parts, just cutting those out of some 3mm foam and then thickening that up by wrapping it with some more foam and then cutting a slight angle into it and then gluing on some detail pieces. I then went through and made the other earpiece, just cutting out a piece of foam and then a piece of pipe, which I drilled a hole into to make a hole into that so that a piece of a wooden dowel could fit in, so that I could make the rangefinder be able to open and shut. I then made the rest of the actual earpiece, just drilling a hole into a piece of foam so that the rangefinder was on a swivel. I then glued that onto the side of the faceplate and then made a strip of foam to go across the whole back side of the helmet to make that little raised area that it has. I then went through and cut out the back section, just using a ruler to make sure it was square, and then I went through and cut that out and then cut up some strips and glued those together to make the small vents that go in the back of that. I then went through and glued the vents back onto the piece of cardboard and then glued some foam spacers around the end of that. I then went through and made the rangefinder. I made this a little bit different than I did for my Boba Fett helmet. I just cut out the basic shape of this and then wrapped a piece of foam around all the edges, just to make it a little bit more simpler than the Boba Fett helmet rangefinder that I made. I then went through and sealed the whole helmet in some watered down Mod Podge. I just applied this with a brush, and then after letting it set for a couple of minutes, I went through with a sponge brush, or actually I used a piece of foam actually to go through and smooth it out so that I didn't get any drips or brush marks on the helmet. Not that I'm trying to avoid any brush marks, because I am just going to brush paint this, but just to get rid of any flaws that may happen. I then went through with some Bondo and filled in all of these seams. I actually just read the safety instructions on Bondo, so you totally should not use your hands like I did. Use gloves or something else. I then airbrushed on a dark blue as a base coat, and then went through and hand painted some darker blue over that, just to give it a little bit of a brushstroke look. Then I masked off some of the helmet and went through and hand painted on the white in the front of it, and then hand painted on the dark gray areas, just using a very small brush. I ended up not going completely identical on each side for the eye details, but I was pretty fine with that, especially since, unless you're looking at it straight on, you can't really tell. I then went through and did a very dark wash over the whole helmet using some black paint, and this is just to give it a really nice weathered look. I also did some dry brushing on the helmet using a piece of foam just to get it on all the highlighted areas, and then went through and did some battle damaging. Overall, I think this helmet turned out really good. The seams aren't the best, but I will be able to improve those over time, but the paint job I think turned out pretty well on this, and I'm really pleased with how the whole helmet dome turned out. I'll definitely be using that more in the future. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys want to check out my Etsy shop, I have quite a few of my props listed on there, as well as some 3D printed things I've made. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys don't mind liking and subscribing, be sure to. See ya!